Okay. Hi, my name's Zak Miller. I'm the sparkling winemaker here at Domaine Carneros.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So the question that leads to level 3 examination, what factors contribute to the quality level of sparkling wine?
What factors? Every factor. There's so many factors that go into it. There's obviously the picking decisions, the fermentation kinetics, the aging time on the lees in the bottle, the dosage at the end. For me, I think every step is extremely important, but probably the most important or the most profound effect that we can do, even leading up to harvest, is for me, it's managing the fruit correctly. And that's one thing that we have here at Domaine Carneros. We have 400 acres of estate fruit. And what that means is we own the vineyards and we manage it ourselves. So we can truly manage it for quality. We think of it as growing the wine, not growing the grapes. And it goes beyond even farming decisions. It gives us control over the clones, the rootstock, the row orientation, and all those factors in the vineyard. So that's really where it all starts, I believe.
So it starts in the vineyards.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to WCT, we often talk about balance, length, intensity, complexity. We combine those factors to assess the quality of wine. So I think one of the biggest component for the sparkling wine production particularly is the balance, right? Because we're talking about in the vineyard about the acidity, and then we're talking of balancing that acidity with sweetness later on. Can you walk us through that process?
I think the balance comes from having different material to use in your blend. I mean, and that can mean a lot of things for us. We only have Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, but we have 18 clones of Chardonnay and 20 clones of Pinot Noir. So when we go to do our blending, we have a lot of options from our different vineyard sites. And so that really, we're able to take a little bit more minerality from one block and a little bit more richness from another block and marry them together. And it's kind of like thinking about an orchestra coming together where all the parts contribute and make a beautiful wine in the end. So, that's really how we approach our blending, with an eye towards the balance and the structure that you were talking about.
So every given year, roughly, how many different wines will go to your one bottle of wine? When you're blending, what would your beer estimate?
That's a good question. I would say maybe in our brut blend or even in our rosé, you could have as many as 20 components. Yeah. Maybe even a little more in some years. But there's usually quite a few contributors, although you might have some main components and then some secondary, but there's usually a lot going into the blends. We'll probably have as many as 80 separate cuvées after fermentation, after harvest. And so, where those shake out is a little hard to say year in and year out, but I think that's pretty fair. 20 or possibly more in any given year.
Can you talk about the importance of dosage and your philosophy on dosage in your brut, but overall?
Yeah. It's extremely important. You change the wine completely if you go light. And we do this with different offerings of the same base blend. We have our Ultra Brut, which is our take on an extra. We have our standard, vintage estate brut. We also do a demi-sec. And so we have the same base wine going at 3 dosage levels. And it's very informative to taste those together because you have what is essentially the same wine, yet in bottle. They're three entirely different wines. And so I think philosophically, there's a lot of ways to approach dosage. The ultra brut is usually appreciated more by real sparkling wine aficionados, somms, wine geeks, that sort of thing. And then the demi sec also hits a pretty large chunk of the purchasing public. But I think the brut really falls in the sweet spot, just our standard brut. And for us, that's right around 9 grams per liter. And I think, the thought behind it is enough dosage to knock to help with the searing acidity, which is in the base wine, but not so much as to overwhelm the balance in the middle or the finish for the wine. I kind of look at a good analogy for dosage is like salt in cooking. It's definitely needed, and it adds an incredible flavor to a certain point. It can be overdone, and so. But that being said, everybody's preference level is kind of theirs. So I don't know there's any right or wrong answer other than for
That's
the
true.
Individual.
That's true. But would you say that it's true that the lower dosage requires more focus on the fruit if you decide to bring in a lower dosage, which around the world in some of the market seems to be a preference on slightly lower dosage.
Yeah. From my experience around the world, especially in Champagne, when they go lower dosage, they go with a richer, riper base wine. They're letting it hang a little bit more. They're getting a little bit more maturity in the berries, letting the acid drop out, but that's kind of counterbalanced with the lower dosage. And I think that's very common, and that helps lower dosage wine be a little bit more palatable. So yeah, that's certainly a way to do it. For us, we use the same base wine anyway, so we don't go. Our extra is 4 grams per liter rather than trying to go all the way down to
because we're going back to that balance.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Ultimately, that's what we're looking for with dosage as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.